Have you ever wanted to make beautiful custom soap but don't know where to start? Today I'm sharing my melt and pour soap secrets, perfect for beginners. By the end of this video, you'll know how to make stunning soap that smells even better, whether it's for yourself, for gifting, or even for selling. My name's Catherine, and if you like everything to do with home goods and crafting, you're in the right spot. I'm going to walk you through 4 different color and scent combinations today, talking about the different materials you could consider, colors, scents, mix-ins, as well as packaging at the end. So if you're ready to get into it, let's go. So let's get started with ingredients, the most important of which will be your soap base. Today, we are using melt and pour soap, which is a super beginner-friendly alternative to cold process soap. This is exactly as the name sounds. We're going to cut this up, we're going to melt it down, and then we're going to add our scents, colors, mix-ins, all that stuff, and pour it directly into the mold. This is a great place to start for beginners because you're bypassing the chemistry side of soap, essentially, where you're dealing with harsher chemicals like lye, and you get straight to the fun customization. It's kid-friendly, it's quick, it's easy. It does come with some limitations over ingredients as well as texture and additives, but if you're just getting started, this is a great place. I am using goat's milk soap base today, which is my preference. It's a lower lather, but it's really great for dry and sensitive skin, which I have. There are, of course, plenty of alternatives out there on the market. Shea butter bases, cocoa butter bases, olive oil bases. And if you're looking for something that's clear because you want to play with colors and different textures, you can also get glycerin based soap as well. Other ingredients you'll need is some fragrance, either fragrance oils, essential oils. There's a few different options here we'll talk about later. You can also work with colorants. This is a color block, so essentially color pre-mixed in a small amount of soap. There's other things you can do here like mica powder or colored drops. We'll talk about those as well. Lastly, some mix-ins. So you could either go with botanicals like this, dried flowers. You could do sea salt, you could do coffee grounds. There's lots of different options there too. That covers our actual soap, but the other tools that you're going to need include some molds. Typically, they're made of silicone, and you can find plenty of these online. You will also need a cutting board with a knife to cut up our soap base, as well as a pourable pitcher that we can use to mix everything up together. A kitchen scale is really important to help get our ratios just right. I will be using a microwave to melt our soap today. You can also use a double boiler if you're more familiar with that. And finally, some isopropyl alcohol, both in a container that we can use to wipe and sanitize our molds, as well as in a spray bottle, which will help tap down any bubbles at the end. You'll also probably want some protective equipment, especially when dealing with these scents, as they are typically in high concentration and can cause allergies, irritation, that kind of thing. So I'm going to be using some safety glasses as well as latex gloves when I'm dealing with this. We'll talk a bit more about packaging at the end, but I also have some shrink wrap as well as some little boxes that I'll be using to package up my soap. The last consideration is hygiene, especially if you're working in a kitchen like I am. So I've made sure to wipe down all of my surfaces. I'm going to clip up my hair in a second, and I just want to make sure that I can give the best shelf life to these ingredients by making sure that they don't get contaminated by anything. All right, enough talk, let's get started. Our first recipe captures the smell of rain on pavement. It has mixes of orange, misty fog, violet, peony, lily, jasmine, and magnolia. I'm going to use a blue colorant that has some mica flecks in it for a bit of shimmer, and top with some blue cornflower. I'm going to start by sanitizing and wiping out my molds as well as my jar here with some isopropyl alcohol. This is going to help dehydrate them if there's any water left in there, as well as get any kind of dust or contaminants out and sanitize them too. Next, we're going to have to do just a bit of math. So we're going to cut up our soap base and melt it down, but I need to know how much I want to put in each of these. This product contains 4.5 ounces per cavity, And in grams, that's just over 1,000 grams. So I'm going to take my soap base and I'm going to get 1,000 grams of it out here on the cutting board. And then we'll cut it up into little squares. It normally takes a couple tries to get used to your particular combination. For me, I know that an overloaded mounding amount here is actually the right amount that I want. I'm going to melt down this little part first, and then I'll be throwing these in as I can fit them. So let's head to the microwave. All right, I just did 60 seconds there. Just gonna squish it down as much as I can, mix it up. All right, there's an additional 45 seconds. We still got some solid chunks, but we're starting to get down to a liquid. And you do just want to heat this very slowly. So a few larger bursts, like 60 or 45 seconds at the beginning is okay, but from then on, you want to do 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and just give it a lot of stirring in between. That's one of the major pitfalls of people who are just starting out with melt and pour soap, is going too fast. You don't want to burn this. You don't want to change it chemically in any way. We're just trying to melt it down. In terms of fragrance, so there are different concentrations that you can put in, and it depends on how concentrated the fragrance is as well. You can look these kind of things up on the internet. I will leave a link down below to Brambleberry's website, which is where I got this particular scent. They have a calculator for how many grams of scent we're going to want to add into the grams of soap base that we have, both for a light scent, a medium scent, as well as a heavy scent, which I prefer to go medium. I do also prefer to buy an actual fragrance oil meant for soap. You can use just regular essential oils as well. They're just not really made for soap in the same way. They are natural and they have skincare benefits, but sometimes those kind of essential oils fade over time, and they're also pricier. So these fragrance oils, they're kind of a blend, sometimes synthetic. They're just a bit stronger and longer lasting than essential oils or even fragrances like vanilla extract, all that kind of stuff. So do your research on what you want to put in. But my preference is fragrance oil designed for soap. I'm also going to break out our color block. So this product is colorant, and there's some mica and some shimmer powders in there. Essentially, it's just a little block of soap with everything pre-mixed into it that I can just cut up into small chunks and put into the soap base as is. But there are a few other options. You can use liquid colorants, even food coloring if you really wanted to. You could also use mica powders on their own, which can give you a shimmery color. So the colorant's not quite mixed in yet, but everything is all melted and very liquidy. So what I'm going to do is I used my calculator to find out how much scent I need, and that is 20 grams for medium. 10 for light, 20 for medium, 30 for strong. So I put this on my scale, I've tared it down, so it's saying 0 grams right now, and I'm just going to pour until I hit that 20 mark. Now it's time to mix, mix, mix as much as I can. All right, I am happy with that, so let's get to pouring. I'm going one by one here just to make sure I get this batch evenly spaced between all different molds. And you can see there's some bubbles forming on the top here, so I'm going to be using the isopropyl alcohol in the spray bottle to clean these up. Yeah, so they're just like a couple millimeters from the top, just enough room to put in our flowers, which is perfect. Okay, I'm grabbing my spray bottle here. You can see how they just make the bubbles disappear there. Pretty cool. Now for our petals, just gonna grab them and sprinkle. This part is totally fun, totally up to you how you want to do it. There's a few different ways that you can add these botanicals in, or whatever type of mix-in you're using, whether it's salt, coffee grounds, exfoliants, that kind of thing. I prefer to do it this way, where I'm just sprinkling them into the back They're more of a decoration as opposed to being integrated throughout the soap. Sometimes I find people don't actually like having this rough texture in their soap or the flower petals getting all over the shower, that kind of thing. So I like putting them on the one side so you can still have an exfoliating component to the soap, but they don't kind of get all over the place. You can mix it in your pouring jar beforehand if you like. Sometimes too, you need to be aware of how it'll settle. I've used brown sugar in the past, and I find it all settles down to the very front of the mold while it's drying. So this kind of sprinkle on the back texture has worked for me, but you do what you are interested in doing. And once I am happy with that, we just let them dry. All right, it has been a couple hours and these are hard, so let's get to unmolding them. I'm going to pop them right out onto this paper towel with the botanical side down, just so we get that nice imprint on top. And you'll see this mold is actually really beautiful. It has a flower leaf shape on top. I'm super happy with how those turned out. It's clean pull right from the mold. They look nice and shiny and shimmery. You can see flecks of the botanicals poking through in the front. And the backs are all set up with the beautiful cornflowers on them. That's a batch of 8, so let's get right into making the second batch here. Our second recipe is for the forest lovers. This is a sweet mix of berries, pineapples, fir, spruce, and musk. I'm using a green coloring block that has some shimmer in it and topping with sprigs of rosemary. Our third recipe is a soft and modern floral. So this one has a balance of cassis, bergamot, lemon, honey, peony, dandelion, and white musk. I am using a pink coloring block that again has a bit of shimmer in it and topping with some dried rose petals. Our last recipe is perfect for anyone seeking that clean spa-like feel. This is a mix of eucalyptus and cotton with hints of peppermint, gardenia, hyacinth, sandalwood. I am not going to be coloring this one, but I am going to be topping it with some coarse salt. Okay, let's talk a bit about packaging. What I like to do is I have these cardboard boxes made especially for soap, but within them I've wrapped each piece of soap in a heat shrink wrap. They're just a bit cleaner of a look, and they wrap really tightly around each piece of soap, but you can also use cling wrap, just regular kitchen cling wrap if that's all you have as well. So these are little pieces of shrink wrap. If you're not familiar, basically what you do is apply heat to these once you've wrapped it around the piece of soap, and it'll shrink down to form a really tight seal. These ones in particular have a little perforated tear strip, so I'm going to put that on the side of each piece, and that means the customer or whoever's using the soap can easily tear this plastic piece away from the soap with no need for scissors or anything like that. This helps seal in the freshness and the scent. It prevents any scratches or dings on the soap. And it also helps any contaminants that might get into it, keeping these fresher for a lot longer. You'll want to do this within probably 12 hours for melt and pour soap. If you're going with cold process soap, that's a bit of a longer process. You want to wait till it's fully cured. But for melted soap, really, as soon as it's cooled completely and set, you can wrap it right away. All right, a bit of a tight squeeze to get these in sometimes, but now I am ready to apply some heat. One other reason you do want to wrap these is condensation. So especially if you live in a humid climate or if your soap contains a lot of highly moisturizing ingredients, they tend to attract water and get kind of dewdrops over top of them that can ruin the appeal. So wrapping them up like this prevents that for sure. This is my heat gun. So it's kind of like the guy's version of a hairdryer. But what it does is it produces a really high heat with a really low fan. So I'm going to turn this all the way down. And what I'm going to do is just hold it briefly over each one of these, and you'll see the plastic shrink up really fast. You can use a hairdryer. on a hot setting and a low fan. If you don't have one of these, it will take a lot longer and it will be a lot windier as well. So I do recommend a heat gun if you have one, or like I suggested, an alternative is just regular saran wrap from your kitchen as well. The second step in getting a nice professional look is some boxes. So I actually got these on Amazon. There are tons of different styles and colors and all that stuff that you can get. I'll link these down below. But what you're looking for is something that can fold up into the shape of your soap. So be sure to double check your dimensions to get something that fits. These came in a really big pack and they have a window on the front so you can see into the product. And what I'm going to do is just fold along all of the pre-folded lines here. So I'm just folding this, like a little clam, to snap the bottom together. Put this in, and voila, easy. I'm going to do botanical side up, just because I think it's the prettier side. Now the shelf life on these is going to depend on the minimum shelf life of all the ingredients that you've used. So make sure you look and see. But these are about 1 to 2 years typically. And the last thing I'm going to do to give these a professional polish is design a sticker. This can be totally for fun, or if you're selling, you do need to have some considerations for local sales regulations and that kind of thing. But basically what I'm thinking, and there's a ton of ways you could go about this, is to put a sticker that covers this flap here, going all the way around the back, and then a little bit extra on the side. So I'm going to have the product name here. I'm going to have all the ingredients, details, company details, all that stuff on the bottom, and then probably my logo on the other side. If you're just starting out, I would definitely recommend printing these at home. You can order stickers online from somewhere like Shutterfly or Vistaprint. They do run for larger sizes up to $1, maybe even more each. So it can eat into a lot of your profit margin, especially if you want to test out different sticker designs and kind of customize it until you get exactly what you want. Same with different recipes and all that kind of stuff. And there you have it. Handmade, beautiful melt and pour soap that's beginner friendly, ready for any occasion, and smells even better than it looks. If you like what you've seen here today, but you prefer to buy, I'll be listing all this in my website down below. And if you're ready to get started, let me know what scent combination you're going to try in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time.